This is Reah, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics, including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more.
Welcome back. And hello. Well, hello and welcome back. Hello back and welcome. Anyway, let's get started. If you are new here, you can watch, you can watch the episodes for chapter 1 through 8, where I read the chapters and kind of go over them briefly. And yeah, this chapter actually came to me as I was sitting at Tacos for Life, waiting for a cylinder to be replaced in my car. When reflecting about 4 hours ago, my plans for the day included sitting at McDonald's writing because that is what I usually do. I usually sit for a couple hours and write to get uninterrupted work or homework done. At this point, I was still in college about 5 years ago. Maybe yeah, 5 years ago. The table is spacious enough for me to spread my notebooks and laptop out. I decided to bring Noah with me this time because he had homework that I thought he could peacefully do while I did mine. Our internet was out the day before due to construction, preventing him from getting his homework done. Therefore, we went to McDonald's we mostly did his homework. After that, we headed to continue our day's plans and run errands. Since my workbook hasn't sold much due to my lack of advertising, and I'm still waiting on illustrations for my series while I finish my autobiography and second workbook, I decided to put my creativity and income pursuance elsewhere. I don't currently have a lucrative side hustle, and using money from savings to pay bills, trying to grow a business, pay for medical and professional expenses is stressing me out. As we went on our way to continue our day, my car started shaking and multiple lights came on as soon as I got onto the main road. I quickly found a close by place to check my battery and get a diagnostics run. I naturally get anything necessarily repaired on the car as soon as possible because I wanted my baby to last a long time, and she's been good to us over the years. This was no different in terms of response time. The guy at the first shop said the problem was not my battery or engine. However, this is all that he could tell me. As a result, I went to the next place, where I found out that it was a cylinder and a spark plug. Suddenly, I had $280 in repairs to pay and a decision to make right then since they were closing in a few hours. There goes my candle making startup money. I think so. I had to quit my job at the time because my son had just started kindergarten and COVID was still at its peak, and therefore he was doing kindergarten on the computer for 30 minutes a day. So couldn't work during the day. And then the job that I was working at had temporarily closed. That's what I was doing in the afternoon. So $280 in repairs now isn't a huge deal in retrospect or in comparison to the $1,500 I just had to spend on truck repairs. But when you don't really have income, then $280 is a lot of money. That was a lot. The technician gave me all the information in case I wanted to replace the parts myself or someone I knew who knew how to wanted to. However, the person who might know how to do this was busy having a guy's day, so I had to decide right then. Unfortunately, unlike when moms go out with friends, dads don't have the same attachment to their phones when they get a break. If the house burns down, mom will handle it and fuss at them for not answering later. On top of the inconvenience, my phone was dying. I also left my bill at home. I had to call my son and have him send me money to pay for the repairs with Apple Pay before my phone died, which it soon did. I then had to cancel a lunch meeting and tend to this issue. At least I had my 5-year-old with me to talk nonstop through the entire trip. This somehow made the decision making less stressful. This day could have completely fallen apart, but I finally sat down to wait on the car. I realized once that my reaction could shape Noah's reactions and how he handled things in the future. It could affect my oldest son's reactions to things from how I talked to him about why I was still not home yet. It is nice to know that my kids are there for me no matter what they have going on themselves, and sometimes situations can bring us to recognize the benefits of being positive. Although I wanted a minute to myself, at least I had no one with me to keep me entertained since my laptop and phone soon died after sitting down at Tacos for Life. As I sat there thinking while Noah stuffed his face with tortillas and salsa, I decided this would be the perfect thing to write about and elaborate on. And that, kids, is how I wrote this chapter. When Biden won the electoral votes in the fight for the presidential seat of the 2020 election, I exclaimed, "Yes," in the middle of McDonald's. No one looked at me crazy, even though I was about 30 minutes off from receiving the news, apparently, because 30 minutes ago I heard cheering and clapping coming from behind the counter. I go there frequently enough to get iced coffee and write that everyone knows me anyway. My reaction may not have been the same as someone else's. I'm not discussing politics in depth, but I will say that my excitement stems from the potential positive changes, progressions, or prevention of revocation that could come from for people's freedoms. Religion, choice over one's body, personal expression, sexuality, and finances are not things people should be able to control for others when they do not cause individual harm to others. I'm so happy because the results are positive for myself and my children slash future adults. Their lives are more important than the things other people are fighting to control. There are better options that include minding our choices and caring about or treatment of others rather than solely personal, economic, or financial benefit. One of my kids was recently worried about the presidential election's results. Her fear came from wondering what would happen if one candidate won and what their followers would do to other United States citizens. There have been talk on social media about mass murder if Trump won the presidential election. That freaked my kid out, rightfully so. She was so sad because she could not change it herself. This is emotionally very healthy, and I knew that it would be positive to talk about her worries. I chose my reaction carefully when I engaged in conversations about their feelings because I know my responses or opinions will affect my kids. I decided to respond by telling her that as adults, we have stress awaiting the results too. I tried to support her desire to help by letting her know that once we vote, we have done the best we can. From there, we have to focus on making small changes to affect big changes. I shared that she can be an agent of change by focusing on what we can control. We can start focusing on what we can control by starting with our personal lives. As a kid, she's not old enough to vote. According to the 26th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, a person is required to be 18 years old to vote. While she cannot vote yet, she can focus on what she can't control. Who would like to advocate in their community for causes that are important to them can provide their personal contribution that can positively impact others through their lives. Our kids are future adults. What we teach them informs their actions and reactions in the future. They say all the time that I have they say things all the time that I've said before. I'm sure they will continue to do so, making what I say and how I react have an impact on their lives. Another reaction topic that I feel is somewhat controversial is kids and cursing. I used to curse a lot for no reason. I then found religion and went through that phase where I tried not to do anything wrong and I would only curse out of anger, which is way better. Insert eye roll. That's a very sarcastic comment. It's not better to only curse out of anger. That's even more so defeats, like, it puts more negative power into the words when you're only using them when you're mad. After a while, I moved past this in the phase where I stopped trying to be perfect and started just paying attention to my patterns. Cursing only when I am mad is dumb and senseless if your reason for cursing is religion. It is simply using anger as an excuse to do something we do naturally anyway, like speak words of expression. I know cursing can be a sensitive topic to some and not to others. I have friends who curse around their kids but aren't abusive, junkies, or wrecks. Someone I know who smoked cigarettes used to say, "Well, I gave everything else up except for this." It sounded ridiculous to me for a long time. Why not give that up too and just be perfect? Realistically we're humans, so we're naturally imperfect. Although I know from experience and education that cigarettes lead to a whole boatload of medical issues, I understood their point. I'm not saying that I'm perfect except for cursing. I'm simply saying I know a lot of amazing people who live selfless lives and are huge contributions to their families and society who curse and not just out of anger. Our kids are going to make choices different from ours. They will make They will also make similar choices to ours. Our reaction to those differences are important. Whether it is whether or not it is something as simple as cursing, I think that teaching them the right choices in life, being healthy, contributing to society, being financially and emotionally intelligent, and being successful in life outweigh my need to teach them to be perfect. I also think teaching them to be respectful and not just go cursing people out, unlike me, is important. I don't just randomly curse people out unless I'm in the car yelling at someone who's ridiculously driving, or if they almost hit me or pull in front of me as the lane runs out, instead of slowing down and getting in line, or if I get pushed to the point where I snap at someone. This doesn't happen often at all, but it has happened, and my kids have seen it. It happened a little over a year, 2 year span when I was under a lot of stress coming in all directions. I spoke to my kids afterward and I apologized, even though I'm not cursing them out. I still try to correct my bad examples. My kids do not just curse out of anger. My oldest kid swears like a sailor around his friends, which I did too. He does it around me and I don't correct him because it's the worst thing he's doing as a 20-year-old man is cursing and not beating women, raping kids, doing drugs, and drinking excessively, then he is excelling in life. And I'm not saying those are the only things that make you not excel in life. My point is just on the topic of cursing, I don't think it's the worst thing a kid can do. I think that we have to focus on the positive that our kids do and not so much the certain things that may or may not be taboo to other people. My younger kids don't curse. Maybe even when they have it, it hasn't even been an actual curse word. For one, they're too young to throw around curse words that they don't understand or aren't even using right. I definitely would not say they're too young to feel the emotions I usually felt by angry cursing. When I was little, I had a journal I wrote in that was full of curse words I was not allowed to say. I don't agree with cursing around kids or letting them be potty mouths, but I don't care if my teenage kid says a curse word, especially when they're good kids in every other way. I mean, they could do a little more sweeping and mopping, but as far as being amazing humans, they've got that nailed. 5 years later, they could do more sweeping and mopping, but they're otherwise wonderful people. Even though they were given permission to be expressive in an appropriate setting, clearly not around their 5 year old brother who loves to copy me when I say freaking or crap. They don't curse. Mind you, this was 5 years ago. One of them, one of them, one of my teenagers still does not curse. She just doesn't feel comfortable do it, and I respect it. Um, Although I don't think that crap is a bad word, I know people who think it's inappropriate, and I respect that. It's just one of those things that people disagree on, and I feel like there's too much going on in every teenager's normal daily life to hold their emotions and how they express them against them, as long as they're not hurting anyone. Personal choices go beyond cursing or stress management. I have learned over the years that allowing my children to make personal choices in their lives is important. Our responsibility is to teach them the basics and to guide them to be the best to guide them to the best possible outcome. They will absolutely have different opinions and make different choices as their experiences are 100% different than ours, even when they seem similar. We could take the same journey in life and still have completely different outlooks and opinions. This is due to personal perspective and experience, age difference, and lifestyle differences. Jada is so much like me, and that's my oldest daughter, so she's my second kid. Jada is so much like me in the areas of music, clothing, brand preference, but she is a 17-year-old kid in the year 2021 whose experiences are different than mine. No matter how alike we are, our life's perspectives will not be the same. My oldest kid is just like me too, but a much better person than I was at his age. All of them are. They're like the better, more amazing, more self-aware, more patient versions of me. Some have had similar experiences, but mostly they have not. Some of them have similar opinions and preferences, and some do not. I like to think that if they all did, then I probably would not be doing as well as at parenting as I think, because being complete clones of me would not be them being themselves. I allow them to be imperfect. I encourage them to express themselves and I urge them to feel and embrace those feelings. I'm far from perfect and I don't want them to expect perfection as long as they work towards success. As parents, there are a lot of things we can and will react to. A lot of our reactions will probably regret or wish that we could have changed. I have learned that as much as I am not a literal traveler, I'm certainly capable of changing the future. Redirecting our reactions, explaining them, and working to react better next time is imperative in child rearing. Our parents did a lot of imperfect things they weren't able to change, but if they put any effort into parenting, they certainly could have changed the way they reacted to those things in the future if they realized their current reactions did not go successfully. I was watching an episode of one of my favorite shows, and a set of parents with a young child were beginning to approach allowance. They began with one approach, and the kid absolutely was not feeling it. While I was pretty taken back by the child's behavior, I observed the parents' patience and how they decided to change their approach, which is one thing I've had to do multiple times in life as a parent. Change my approach. Not just in parenting though, honestly. Um, in just in life. Sometimes we just have to change our approach. Sometimes we just have to change our approach. And that's okay. I teach my kids that too. It's okay to realize something doesn't work and to do it differently. Absolutely. Part of growing and being self-aware. This isn't working, and that's fine. Let me try this instead. They redirected their focus to explain the process and what the child could do rather than what they could get. I appreciated their willingness to ignore the bad behavior to achieve the goal. I could use that approach sometimes with my youngest, ignoring the behavior to achieve the goal by changing my approach. Our kids are going to do things differently than us, and they're going to do things we disagree with. Are they hurting anyone, themselves, or negatively affecting their future? If not, maybe we should change our approach and focus on them and not their difference in views on life due to being different people. Our reactions to life will continue to change, but they won't change in the sense that they affect everyone around us. Sometimes the reaction has a bigger impact than the action. Sometimes our reaction can impact the situation more than the actual original action can. Taking everything that we go through in life and putting it into perspective can be freeing and helpful, not just ourselves. It can help the people around us, the people who have experienced life within the past, and how we approach experiences with others in the future. Our reactions can teach us the Our reactions can teach us things to look back on later, and they can prepare us for things we have yet to experience and help us grow. Looking back on where I started in the beginning of this book, these reflections have helped shape my reactions to life. I know that this day is not the last day I have to grow, learn, and experience. I know that a year ago I was not where I am now, and that a year from now I will have grown even more. And that is true. I've had a lot of growth in the past 5 years since writing this book, rather. Um, I know that I can say with confidence that my actions have changed through my understanding of how my reactions shape my past and future experiences. They can also shape my children, my family, my husband. They can also shape my children, my husband, my family, my friends, and my friends' experiences. Take the time to take care of yourself, take care of your health, and take care of your future self by taking care of your past self. Look back at the hard times and think about how you can approach your reaction in the moment to grow from your actions in the past. Protect your health by adjusting your reactions to life. And then there's space. There's space for self-reflection in the back of this book. I'm a big note taker, and so I put in pages for notes. There's also resources. Two of these are good friends of mine. These resources local to North Carolina. And then on the back, there's of course, an about the book. Reah reframes the objectively positive, negative, and neutral events as stepping stones on her journey to the successful, established adult in the present day. She describes how each setback was unique and capricious. Capricious. Reah openly addresses the recurrent and invisible struggles associated with trauma and grief from a scientific perspective. She shows how trauma can manifest in the physical body when left untreated. The author encourages the reader to consider the events in their own life from a similar perspective, which she presents as means of maturity, progression, and importantly, ending the vicious cycle of intergenerational trauma. The book epitomizes how a relationship with God and self is helpful for personal growth, finding meaning through broken family experiences and for fostering strength in a seemingly chaotic world. About Reah Robinson, which on the original says Reah Robinson because that was my maiden name that was before I was married and changed my name. Reah provides resources to help others in their lives through guidance and counseling services. So if you don't know about my family and relationship counseling, that is a service that I offer. I also have a commercial cleaning business, which is why you see all this book stuff in the back. Unintentionally, I just said today, you know what? My background is going to be my office, and it looks, I don't know what it is. Everything is together. That is the cleaning portion of the office, and everything else is the other portion of the office. I'm not going to give you a tour because, well, you don't need to know what the whole entirety of my office looks like. But anyway, so that's the final chapter of Dirt on My Cloth. It is available at philology.net/books. And I really hope that you guys have enjoyed listening to me read all 9 chapters. And as always, I welcome all comments, questions. You can leave them. If you're listening to this on audio, shoot me an email, reahdr@philology.net. You can purchase your copy at philology.net/books. You can leave me comments, questions there. You can email me. You can leave comments if you're watching this on YouTube. You can leave your comments, questions, anything that, or feedback. Leave all the feedback. If there's anything that you want me to talk about in future podcasts relating to the book, let me know. And thanks for watching as always. Check us out on YouTube at Reah Higgs, ReahHagues. You can also keep up with us on Instagram at Just the Who Podcast.